It was a story that shocked and angered parents in the Boston public school system. In 2011, then City Councilor John Connolly captured these images showing boxes of expired food he found while making surprise inspections of school cafeterias around Boston. The idea that students might be eating old, as much as 2 years out of date food led to a series of investigation into the district's Food and Nutritional Services Department. Last week, the findings of one of those investigations were released, and they are damning. The independent report described a hostile work environment, poor communication at all levels, and internal controls that are weak or non-existent. Here to talk about those findings and how to improve the schools is John Connolly. He's a former Boston City Councilor and mayoral candidate who first brought some of these problems to light. Welcome back to Greater Boston, John Connolly.
Thanks, Emily. Good to be here.
First of all, what have you been doing? You've been out of the limelight for 6 months.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with my family. I felt like I almost didn't see them for a whole year. And I've been working quietly on 2 education projects. I think I'm going to be able to make them public shortly. I don't want to put them on a time frame, but I'll just say this. They both involve working with families and how we get families more involved in schools. And I'm hoping I can make that my work going forward.
Have you been practicing law? I mean, whose payroll are you on?
I'm doing everything I can to not practice law. So, but I want to really stay focused on how I can be a voice to improve schools and how I can work to get families involved in really shaping our schools.
Well, going back to this food report, which you were the first one to call everyone's attention to it, first of all, has that issue been resolved about the outdated food? I mean, most of it was not dangerous. It was cereals and that kind of thing. And even frozen hamburger, you know. I keep it in my freezer for 3 years now. Has that been resolved?
I don't know. I don't know based on this report. I thought it had been resolved, but when I see this report, I think it brings it all back into question. And you're right. We're never talking about salmonella or an outbreak that would be deadly, but what we were talking about was basically freezer burning food to the point that it would have no nutritional value for our children. But the investigation in 2011 focused specifically on this part of the food program. I'm surprised to learn about that, but overall, I'm not surprised to learn that the whole department is in disarray. I think that's been well known, and we haven't seen any changes there.
I think the last time we talked about this, I mean, food in the public schools is treated like prison food. I mean, it's cooked to death. The nutritional value is, the breads are horrible. I mean, I haven't eaten it in a while, but I've seen it.
Yeah, this is a solvable problem. This shouldn't be as hard as it has been for the Boston Public Schools, and this is really set up to be a great success. You've got a federal program that will reimburse a city school district like Boston. So if you do the registration correctly, you should actually make money on the program. But the bigger piece here in play is if we would partner with some nonprofits, and they've been there waiting for BPS to really open the door to them, and not just partially, then you can bring in some talent to really make that program run. And it all comes down to this. It's very simple. Run it like a restaurant. And that's really what it's about. You need 2 key people at the top to do that. You need a manager who knows the food service industry inside out, and you need an executive chef. And we've actually had a few nonprofits offer Boston Public Schools to fund an executive chef position, and they basically resisted those offers. They didn't want anybody from the outside looking inside, and we know why.
Does every school, by the way, every single day get the same menu?
No, because it depends. I mean, for the large part, yes, but they have a few different programs. They have so-called satellite kitchens where the food comes in, and then they've got kitchens in schools that are fully operational where you can, prepare the food there. It depends on that. There's a few pilot programs in schools from different food vendors and pieces like that. So it's not all the same.
There was a glowing piece in the Boston Globe today about the interim school superintendent, John McDonough, that he's doing a great job, that although he said he doesn't want the permanent job, but he'll be in this job another year and a half at least. I know you've talked to Marty Walsh, and you've said publicly that you're not going for the superintendent's job, but why not?
Look, I'd love to be superintendent, and on the one hand, because I really think that we can make this system work and deliver quality education to every child, but it takes strong leadership to do that. But by the same token, I want to respect this mayor's right to pick the person that he wants, because, that mayor's got to have absolute trust in that superintendent. They've got to be on the same page, and there are plenty of people out there who can move this district forward and give our families better quality.
But you know the city, you live here. We have made the mistake in the past, no names named, bringing people in from the outside, plunking them down. They've got great credentials, but they don't know Boston, they don't know the system, they don't know the history.
Yeah. Look, I think I could offer a lot in that role, but I think there's a lot of roles where I can make a difference for our schools. And again, I truly, Mayor Walsh has got to be comfortable with the person he picks. I want him to pick the person that feels right for him, because they've got to be on the same page.
Would you be more aggressive in approaching him on this?
No. I want to give him the space to set this leadership team in place the way he wants. And I think he's made good decisions so far. I think delaying this search is probably a good move here. John McDonough is doing a good job. Give him some more latitude to keep doing the job he's doing.
What's the number one thing that the new superintendent needs to look at to fix? And we had that whole morass with school assignments last year. I don't know where we stand with that, but what is the number one issue?
It's the culture inside Court Street, and that's to say the management downtown, not out at the schools. There's a lot we've got to do out at the schools, but it starts with the management downtown. That's a broken culture in there. And in a sense, John McDonough is succeeding because he knows how to navigate it so well. But ultimately, we've got to bring someone in who's going to take that culture apart and rebuild it so that we're always focused on the schools. Because too often we're in a top-down mentality in the Boston Public Schools. And what happens in Court Street feels like it's a million miles away from the needs of a principal, a teacher, a parent, a student.
All right. John Connolly, we will be looking forward. How soon do you think you'll have your announcements on your two education projects?
I don't want to put a timetable on it, but I will just say it'll be in the next few months.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. We'll look forward to that.
Thanks.
John Connolly, thanks for coming.